These matches seem to get better and better every week. How you doing? I'm Jack Buck, and you're just in time for Top Star Bowling. We only have a moment. Got a perfect seat for you here at the Marlboro Lanes. Come on along. Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Top Star Bowling from the very beautiful Marlboro Lanes in the village of Marlboro, just southwest of the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the west. Jack Buck with Whitey Harris. It's our pleasure to introduce the bowlers to you and help you enjoy the match a bit as we go along. And before introducing the contestants on this particular show, a little bit about the format. It is a three-game match with total pins determining the winner, a King of the Hill format, and the defending champion this week, dethroned Bob Chase, who had won 3 consecutive weeks. The winner gets $1,000, the loser $500. In addition, King Louis Shirts has provided $2,500 in prize money, $1,500 for the high series in a 13-week period, and $1,000 for a high game in the 13-week period. And Bob Chase so far has a 673 and a 236, and he is out in front in that particular department. As I said, the gentleman who is defending champion this week won last week. He's from Cleveland, Ohio. He is a member of bowling's Hall of Fame. And Whitey Harris said he's one of the best old bowlers that we have. Steve Nagy. Welcome back, Steve.
Glad to be back.
That was Whitey who said that. Remember that?
I know. He never heard of Fazio, has he?
Oh, you're younger than Fazio, huh?
Oh, yeah, 5 years.
We'll learn more when Buzz comes along here. And in contrast, one of the outstanding newcomers to the professional bowler ranks, and a fellow who's a graduate of the Junior Bowling Leagues, about which we'll be talking a bit later on. He's from St. Louis, so should feel very much at home as he challenges Steve Nagy. Ray Orf.
Thank you, Jack. Nice to be here.
Good to see you. You want to turn around and show them how you spell your name? O-R-F. You'll see plenty of it as we go back and forth up here. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the loser. The winner stays around to take on Ray Bluth. So a lot of action on Top Star Bowling, and we're all set. A handshake, a welcome from you fans, and we'll be all set to go. Gentlemen. Three games, total pins, Top Star Bowling coming your way. Ray Orf is our leadoff man this week, a youngster, 22 years old, from St. Louis. Throws a very powerful ball, as you will see. There's his first delivery. He knew he was a bit high. He gets away, leaves a 6-pin. And he'll be shooting for a spare in the first frame. Right at this point, I'd like to further introduce the gentleman I referred to earlier, Whitey Harris, a member of the Brunswick Advisory Staff of Champions. Whitey well known on the bowling fronts, not only in this country, but in foreign countries as well. You'll be hearing from Whitey with his comments as we go along in this three-game match. Shooting at the 6-pin, Ray Orf. First mark of the match. Ray was with us last year on Top Star Bowling and made quite an impression. Now Steve Nagy, who was a winner last week with a 640 series. A thin hit, leaves a 2-5. One of the very few times that you see these pro bowlers leave that 5-pin standing. Right, Whitey?
Yes, Jack, and I'm noting something here where we have a young pro and an old pro, and I don't know if Steve is really giving him the business by talking to him. You know, this goes on in every other sport, so why shouldn't it go on here?
And Steve covers the 2-5 nicely. They have each started with a spare. Mention at this point that Top Star Bowling, which is coming to you from Marlboro Lanes, is sanctioned by the ABC, and the lanes are certified by the American Bowling Congress. These are the sort of conditions that you and your family would encounter when you go out to bowl. Is that the first strike? 5-pin went down, 7 remains. He almost had that 5-7, giving Steve Nagy 19 in the first frame. Bob Chase had been a winner for 3 consecutive weeks until Nagy came along, and Steve defeated the Kansas Citians 640 to 620 in quite a match last week. Hope you were tuned in because it was a good one. Hey. If I'm not mistaken, Whitey, I thought I saw him hit his ankle as he delivered that ball.
It's possible. Of course, being like Steve is a great veteran and everything, he wouldn't actually show it right now, but the way that ball went out there, it must have hit his ankle. Be interesting to find out later on.
So a big opportunity here for Ray Orf. He was driving in there, and he's not going to take advantage of the situation as he leaves the 4-6. So both are off to a rather slow start. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the loser. The winner comes back. And next week we'll bowl Ray Bluth, who is likewise from the St. Louis area. I say likewise in reference to Orf, who goes for the 4-pin.
Jack, on any of those splits like that, I know it's often asked of these pros and clinics and things, but they'll actually just go for the safest pin because pins are so important in a match like this where it really means some money, maybe a few pins.
Unless they get down at the tail end and they know that they have to have it in order to be in the match. We have no strikes in this match. Ha-ha. Now we do. He drilled one in that time.
Looked like a ton of coal when it hit back there.
This kid, when he gets in a groove, he can really fire. Young, strong, full of energy. Of course, Steve Nagy, despite his years, is in good physical shape. Bowling has kept him that way. There's his strike. He comes right back and matches. I'm not trying to say that Steve is not a heavy fellow, because he is. He's 220, but he's a big man and able to stand up to this grind of professional bowling and the travel and everything that goes with it. Steve is 50 years old. Now he's about 55 after leaving that one. 4, 7, 9, 10. The wide open spaces down there. He might give this one a whirl. He'll go for that 4-7, but give himself a little shot at
standing to the right on the approach, Jack.
Kicking that 4-pin over.
He's going for it.
Hey! And he shook that 10-pin, too. Fans give him a hand for a nice try here. We've got a nice crowd on hand, an enthusiastic crowd here. We're just beyond the city limits of St. Louis in the village of Marlboro, in a beautifully appointed house here, Marlboro Lanes, 24 Brunswick Lanes, which Ray Orf found to his liking on his last delivery. He's outside on this one. Never did get up there. And he leaves himself a 1, 2, 4, 10. So with an opportunity to double right there and get off to an early lead, why, Ray let it get away. Now he's going to have to hit on the Brooklyn side in order to take down that 10-pin. So there's an open for Ray Orf. He had a split in the second frame, and now a miss in the fourth frame. He has 55. Steve Nagy has 56. They're being just a bit too polite.
The crowd seems to enjoy the efforts that they're making trying to pick these splits.
And on the head pin leaves the 3-pin. Right on the nose that time. Oftentimes, why do you imagine folks would think that these professional bowlers should get more splits than they do, but their ball is working so much that they avoid a lot of splits.
That's right, and they acquired this skill, Jack, through long hours of practice. I mean, all of them are champions. The only way you ever become a champion is do a little practicing.
Another spare for Ray Orf. Each has a strike. They each got it in the third frame. They're playing follow the leader right here, each with a spare in the first frame, an open in the second, a strike in the third, an open in the fourth. This is Steve Nagy's fifth frame, and he had the angle. Boy, he threw right at that pocket that time. He gets his second strike of the game. So Ray Orf has 55 through the fourth frame with a spare up, and Steve Nagy 56 through the fourth with a strike up. He threw right at it again, and he was right on it.
Jack, I noticed in watching Steve, possibly when we recalled we thought he hit his ankle, he seems to be letting that ball go right about at the foul line, and that ankle's up there, so he might be able to see it on this shot, even on a cross-lane shot.
He's going for the 6-7. And he is off the lane, and he leaves it. That's his third open, 2 splits and a miss. Who's going to take charge in this one?
Steve was giving himself the old pep talk coming back.
I bet if you ask each of them if they'd like to start over, they'd say yes. The advantage swings to Ray Orf. He is now bowling in his 6th frame. He rocked the 10-pin, got tapped. And doesn't that always happen when you're struggling and finally deliver a good ball? Why, there it is.
Jack, when things are going like this, why possibly we joke at different times, but this would be the time to put Irving Schwartz in.
But he didn't qualify. He couldn't pass the physical for our series here. And a mark for Ray Orf, and he takes the lead.
When you're up there around 6'2", 6'3", and yet having such a wonderful style, Jack, usually a big man would have problems.
Great coordination for such size. Another 10-pin. He thought he had one. The ball just wasn't quite driving through there well enough. Why, I don't think you'd call that a real good hit. He was in the pocket.
No, although he moved at the foul line, like we see these fellas, I think he probably would have admitted, too, that there wasn't anything too effective about the ball.
There's a 10-pin for Ray Orf. I always get a kick out of it. And there's matches, and when the ladies are on hand, and we have a good many here at Marlboro Lanes, that the way they ooh and ah when these bowlers shoot for that 10-pin over there, because they evidently have as much trouble as I have. Almost had another split, didn't he? That was Nagy's 7th frame. He already has had 2 splits and 3 opens. He's 11 pins down in the match. They each have nice little games going. There's a spare for Nagy. If these bowlers could hear what we're saying up here sometimes, Whitey, they'd bang our heads together. You know that, don't you?
The way they're bowling, their heads should be banged together.
Oh, their heads, yeah.
Oh.
I think they each feel fortunate right at this point that their opponent isn't hot.
Actually, Jack, it's so much easier up here rather than down there.
And the 7-pin this time. A real mixer, but everything fell away from the 7-pin. That gives Steve 101 through the 7th. Ray Orf, 11, 12 pins ahead right now. He didn't miss it this time. He missed the 7-pin back in the 2nd frame. Steve will give us a lot of foolishness throughout the match, up until the time he picks up that bowling ball.
Yes, I think that's true, Jack. Then when they get up on that approach up there, well, they're all business.
Ray Orf is working on a spare. And he comes up with a 4-6. These things are just inexplicable. You just don't know how in the world to talk about it. They get plenty of time to practice on here. As indicated before, these conditions are not specialized for them. Shooting for the 1 pin, going for the 4. Orf takes it down. He has had 2 splits and a miss, and Steve Nagy has had 2 splits and a miss.
How come when they start to bowl like this, you start asking me questions? I mean, I know I'm supposed to be the wizard
Because I know
on
that
this.
you bowled like this, and you should be able to explain it.
Oh, boy, that's why I'm back here.
This is that important 9th frame. It's only the 2nd strike of the game for Ray Orf. Now Steve Nagy will have to match him. And he can go 1 pin ahead with a strike here. Starting way inside. Goes almost straight up. He's playing way inside. Right on the head pin, and the 3-pin went down, but the 6-pin remains. The crowd made him turn around. It fell down before the automatic got to it. And so it gives him 120. And we're even here in the 9th frame, except for the fact that Orf has a strike and Nagy has a spare.
Steve looked over at the scoreboard, and I'm not sure to correct the score, but he just shook his head. I think they're all great performers, Jack, and they just would like to have a little better score, too.
Steve needs 3 strikes for 170. And he can't make it. .139, bring this back with a 10 count for 159. So the advantage goes to Ray Orf right now. We remind you of the prize for the high single and the high series. King Louis Short Award, $1,500 for the high series, $1,000 for the high game. So far it's $673 for Bob Chase in the series, and he also has the highest game of $236. Talking to him last week, he didn't think those scores would hold up, nor do I. There's a 9 count for Steve Nagy on his spare in the 10th frame, 158.
Jack, it's a mighty low game and everything, but even at that, Orf must spare and either get 9 or better on his next thing, or else catch this strike here, which would close this first game out.
So this is a big delivery for the youngster. Got the ball out there. A little baby split, 3-10. So this one is going to end pretty close to even, providing Ray picks a split.
Of course, Ray will also stand on the approach to the left, Jack, and shooting for the baby split. Try to go between, to the right of the 3-pin.
It's his third split of the game. He's also had a miss. He's got it. Oh! That ball just wouldn't kick back for him. So he ends with 1, 2, 3, 4 opens. The first game is over. Ray Orf 148, Steve Nagy 158. Well, we're set to resume here on Top Star Bowling. Steve Nagy said to me, just say next game and don't say anything else. But actually, we had a new record high in a single game, 306. 148 for that guy and 158 for that guy. But it doesn't really matter much, and it would be funny except for the money involved, so let's get going and see who's going to collect what amount. Second game coming up on Top Star Bowling. You don't mind I use your line, Whitey, about the 306 game, huh?
Not at all, Jack.
Okay. I decided I didn't want it credited to me after all. Steve Nagy in the second game. Off and running. 4-7-10. Steve had 2 splits and a miss in the first game. Ray Bluth is on hand. He's the opponent for next week. And I was asking him about the bowling. He said the one thing to his mind, and let's see how Steve does here, has a 9 count. And of course, Ray would be the last one to be critical of anybody, but I just asked him why they weren't scoring. And he said, and I had to press him to get an answer. He said, they're just not getting the ball out. Neither one of them, and they have to get the ball out on these lanes in order to score. So Ray Orf, who started this game, just 10 pins down, picks them up right there.
Just for the sake of the argument, and I know that Ray don't want to become the sage of this show, but that particular ball, Orf laid it right on the foul line. You think Ray might have been giving you the wrong information?
I don't know. It wouldn't do him any good to throw me off. I know that. Ray Orf trying for his first double. And he gets tapped. That was a dandy hit. Leaves the 10 pin. Like I say, all of this would be funny if it weren't for the money involved. The proprietors here at Marlboro are concerned, Whitey, but we've had good scores in the past few weeks.
Oh, yes. Jack, I know we try to explain these things, but this happens in other sports, too. They apply it to a pitcher that goes out, throws a bad game.
That's right. See a pitcher going out for his 20th win, you'd think he'd be as sharp as he ever was all year, and he's not in there in the third inning of the ballgame. It can't apply here. Now Steve Nagy, who opened in the first frame. He got that one out. I guess he's a rock and roll fan, huh? That 10 pin is still there.
Steve will stand way to the left on the approach, and this is always a good lesson to a lot of average bowlers, Jack, when going for the pins on the right.
That Steve's the character. Jabbering with people as he heads back to the bench. It's Brunswick 82 A2 automatic pin setters, ball return. Get the ball back in the blink of an eye. When the bowler's ready to go again, that ball is there for him. Well, that should be a double for Steve, but it's not. And Ray Orf with a strike and a spare comes up.
Ray, Jack, was one of the youngest bowlers in St. Louis area in an unsanctioned league, not a league, but shot a 300 game in open play when he was about 13 years old.
He leaves a 7-pin. This match is precisely even. Right?
With pending on Steve Nagy getting a strike, Jack, but he's in a better position than Orf is at this time.
Causing that ball to move a long way, Ray gets his spare in the 3rd frame. Ray started with a 148. Now he has a strike, 2 spares. Trying to get a strike to work on. Didn't get up to the head pin, walked away, knew he wasn't going to get there, and leaves a 1-2-4. Ray is a member of an outstanding bowling team. His buddy is Dennis Chappis from the St. Louis area. They enter all the doubles tournaments together and so forth. And the 1-2-4 goes down, so he continues to mark at least. Ray had 4 opens in the first game, 3 splits and a miss. Steve Nagy, on his way to a 158 game, had 2 splits and a miss. Ray Orf had 2 strikes, and so did Nagy. So the strikes just haven't been coming. There's one for Nagy and a double. First double of the match. He goes out in front again.
We always comment, Jack, about Steve's antics at the foul line, and we were talking to him earlier about always, he said, when he gets a double, he expects that 3rd one, and that's why he starts running.
That's what he's looking for now. He lets the ball go. He starts to run. The ball runs. The 7-pin stays. This is the 5th frame of the 2nd game for Steve. He's from Cleveland, Ohio. BPAA National All-Star Champion in 1955. Was elected to the Bowling Hall of Fame in 1963. He was twice voted the Bowling Writers Award as Bowler of the Year. Member of the National Bowlers Journal All-American Team 4 times. His top series, 831. Ray Orf has a 794 series to his credit. He tried to play that one way out.
Yes, Jack, and you'll see the Brunswick pin finder will show the pins where he has the 2, 4, 5, 8. And the light remains on the pin finder to help bowlers know that there is a pin behind there, especially on this bucket.
Got to drive through and get that 8-pin, too. And that count hurt him, too, on the spare. And he ran by the 5-pin. Steve Nagy has 76 through the 4th frame with a spare up, and Ray Orf open in the 5th frame, and he has a total of 81. Well, we're halfway through the match. This is Ray Orf in the 6th frame. He opened in the 5th. He gets tapped. He's had a few hits, Whitey.
Well, for the style of ball that Ray Orf rolls, Jack, it's a tremendous ball. It's so powerful, and I think this is the usual thing when you get on a 10 pin. That's what causes it. He's got such good pin action back there. He can't afford to change. He can't because he throws so natural.
He takes the 10-pin now, so he has that one open against him. Steve Nagy has a spare up, and he has the lead. 14 pins right at the moment. Leaves a 4-7. So it appears that each will have a spare in the 6th frame. So Steve Nagy's advantage in this game is 15 pins. And 25 for the game. So there's his spare. Now this is about the time that they want to start cranking them in there. You know, even though the series might be low when it's all over, we still have a crack at the high game and the $1,000 prize. 7-pin for Steve Nagy. I'd like to pass along a word about mothers and daughters bowling under the auspices of neighborhood groups or local PTA organizations. Moms and daughters bowling is increasing in popularity across the country. If you want to organize such a group in your area, contact your bowling proprietor. There's the spare for Nagy. Ray Orf has 81 through the 5th with a spare up. Steve Nagy 115 through the 6th with a spare up. And Steve Nagy is ahead by 23 pins at this point. Ray Orf is up in the 7th frame working on a spare. He's had one open. He missed in this game. On 22, a little bit high, and leaves a 4-7. I tell you, Whitey, when they make a mistake here, they've been paying for those mistakes, huh?
Yeah, I think the way they're bowling, Jack, and naturally they should try to correct whatever they're doing, but it seems like when they can't get that break, that maybe would give them a little more confidence in the way they're bowling.
Ray going for the 4-7. And he spares. He could still make it a worthwhile game if he were to get some strikes in the last 3 frames. He's up in the 8th now. First game, Ray Orf had 148, Steve Nagy 158. So Steve Nagy has about a 23-pin advantage right here. There's one. He got that good 6-pin action. Maybe he'll get Steve Nagy started. Steve had a double. That's the 2nd strike for Ray Orf in this one, and Steve has 2. He threw right at that head pin that time. Going for the 6-7-10, and Steve's about to lose his advantage, and he gets 2 of them. Whitey, I don't think we've ever had 2 bowlers who have matched each other in the lower stratas before. Usually one guy has gone on to wipe the other one out, but we still have an interesting match here despite the low scores.
That's true, Jack, and I know there's a lot of records in the record books, of which maybe some people aren't proud of them. But yet they're there.
There's the Nagy strike. So Steve has his strike in the 9th frame. Ray Orf comes up looking for a double. Strike here would even up this game. No, Brooklyn. Ray Orf from St. Louis. He's 6'2", weighs 205. He gets his spare. Gives him 141 through the 8th, the same as Nagy, but Nagy has a strike in the 9th. Ray has only a spare.
Jack, when I get to this point here, and he's in the roll-off, actually on this left lane, Ray has hit the pocket every time, and so he's liable to pull out this game.
Four, 7, 9, 10.
Well, there could be a lot of excitement on this because of Ray's ball. It does break sharply to the left, and he'll swing that 4-pin across.
No, he's going to cover the 2 of them, the 4-7. And suddenly his game is over. It's his first split. In this game, he had 3 in the first game. Steve failed to get his double here in the roll-off. Ray Orf finishes with 168. And a spare for Nagy in the 10th. And Steve Nagy. He's finished with his game, and he has increased his advantage. Ray Orf had 148 and 168 for a 316. Steve Nagy with a 181 following his game of 158, and our second game is over. Before Steve Nagy and Ray Orf go at it in the third and final game here on Top Star Bowling, chance to visit with a good friend of mine and a very interesting personality, Mr. Bernie Estrin. Bernie is the head of Estrin's Handicapped Bowlers here in St. Louis. How many in the group, Bern?
Well, we have 68 now, Jack.
And what's it all about? You're capable of telling the folks. What about this handicapped bowling?
Well, we tried and are trying through the help of fellas like Ray and Steve and the rest of the pro bowlers in the country and Brunswick to show handicapped people throughout the country that just because you're sitting in a push cart doesn't mean that you can't go out and have fun, have a job, have a family, and really get a big yak out of life.
You have a boy who is blind in the organization, too, huh?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You have a national tournament every year?
Right, and this year it's going to be in Dallas, and we hope we can get there and hit.
Mm-hmm. How's your bowling?
Please, don't talk. It's coming along all right.
How long have you been bowling in this push cart that you refer to?
Oh, about 8.5 years now.
How about giving us a whirl?
Fine, like to try it.
Okay. Now, my point out here, as Bernie gets squared away to bowl on 22, I'll take the ball, Bernie. Okay, Steve.
I bowl against him.
He beats you.
we bowl them, and first we bowled and we handicapped them, and they beat us, and then we had to sit in chairs, and they beat us again without handicap.
I think not only will you enjoy watching Mr. Estrin, but there's a lesson to be learned right here. What do you think, Bernie? What do you think? I didn't quite get up there, but that gives you an idea of what it's all about. One more. Bernie, that'll do it. I think you've demonstrated your ability, and you have one line with regard to disability that I think sums it up.
Right, it's ability, not disability, that counts.
Bernie, thanks for coming over. Ray Orf starts with a 28-pin deficit here in the third and final game of our match. It's total pins that count, and he couldn't get started with a strike. He leaves a 4-pin. Actually, those two games, as low as they were, 148 for Ray Orf in the first game and 163 for a total of 311. Those two games really don't mean much. The only thing that matters is the fact that he has to catch up 28 pins on Steve Nagy, who has the lead. So there's the spare for Ray Orf to start in the first frame. We're at Marlboro Lanes here in the village of Marlboro, just outside the city of St. Louis, where Top Star Bowling is taking place. Steve Nagy, who vanquished Bob Chase last week, trying for his second win. No 10-pin. So unless the unexpected happens, each will start with the spare. Bernie Estrin is quite a guy, Whitey.
Yes, he is, Jack, and I know you've seen him at different times. He attends all sporting events, too.
Oh, yeah, basketball, baseball games. He's quite a sports fan.
I think we got time. I'll tell a little story as soon as Steve tries to pick this 10-pin.
And does. By the way, he uses a Red Crown Jewel bowling ball.
He does?
Now, and he referred to Brunswick a while ago. He's appreciative of the help that Brunswick has given him.
Jack Askew, they played an outstanding part in a promotion in which Bernie had his wheelchair people involved.
Nagy working on a spare, gets a strike. And what happened, Whitey?
Well, just as he told you, actually they do have a young blind boy bowling on this thing. And this boy was afraid to come into the bowling lanes, but they talked him into it. And some of the build-up psychologically, whenever this blind boy bowls at the foul line, all of the handicapped people that Bernie has surrounded us, they yell out and encourage this fella. And talk about something hitting you at the old ticker. There's a time we were doing a TV show, and he says to me, he says, I see you every Tuesday on TV, Whitey. And, of course, this is the way blind people like to have you talk to them.
Here we are here with Ray Orf shooting at the 6-pin and going for and getting his second spare of the game. Steve Nagy has a spare and a strike. Ray Orf, 2 spares. So Ray hasn't done anything about those 28 pins by which he trailed. 21, he's been hitting pretty well, not carrying, just like that one. It leaves the 10-pin once again.
It looked like, Jack, that he had made the adjustment there. He slowed up his ball, and he's got a good angle.
As you pointed out before, there's not much he can do about it, because he really has been around the pocket a good deal more than his scores would indicate. I know that some of you viewers, prior to the start of our third game, had detected the error which I made in the scoring, and we've corrected it. Things are proper now. 28-pin lead for Nagy at the start, and he was looking for a double, which would have really helped. He leaves the 4-7.
Why do you always take credit for everything? I made the error right here.
And the 4-7 goes down. No opens in this game. They can't string those strikes together. Steve Nagy had 2 strikes in the first game and 4 in the second. Ray Orf 2 and 2, and none so far in this one. On a spare, and in the 4th frame, Nagy strikes. He hit 21 before, too. So he's increasing his lead over the youngster, Ray Orf. He knew as soon as that ball started to run on him, Whitey, that he was going to get in trouble. At the outset, he was hopeful of a good delivery, but came up with a 6-7-10. And he had 1 split in the second game. He had 3 splits in the first game. He's also had a miss in each game. So this hasn't been it for Ray Orf. He leaves a 7. So through the 4th frame, he has 64.
Jack, and looking around the Marlboro Lanes here, the gold crown equipment, tangerine color here, the seating arrangement of the different colors, why, this has sure brought a lot to the bowling game.
One of the reasons why the ladies have taken to it so much.
And then there...
How's that for a strike? Now I bet Ray's saying to himself, why can't I do that more often? Now Steve Nagy with the double can really put himself in good shape. He left the 4-7 over here before on 22. Now leaves the 4-pin. Well, I tell you one thing. No matter who wins, they're going to have to bowl a little bit better next week when Ray Bluth comes along. Not that Ray hasn't bowled an occasional low series, but the odds are that he'll be out here bombing them. Nagy spares. Now he goes back in the lane, which he has hit twice. Ray Orf has 64 through the 4th with a strike up. Steve Nagy has 80 through the 4th with a spare up. Nagy working on a spare, leaves a 10-pin. Not to disregard this spare on the part of Nagy, Whitey, but looking ahead, when Ray Orf gets up in the 6th frame, if he's going to do anything, he's got to tack another strike on the one he has working, right?
Yes, Jack, that open there that he got in the 4th frame, he needs a double to pick that up.
The Steve Nagy doesn't appear about to open.
There's never any defensive action in bowling, but if there ever would be, why, Nagy just has to stay clean from now on without getting an open, which is a split or a miss.
Ray Orf, who got a split on this lane the last time, really needs a double as he lets go. And leaves a 4-7, so he just can't find the proper route. He's had only a total of 5 strikes so far. And this, you're going to have to believe this, is from one of the outstanding young bowlers in the country. Now, after you've seen him here on Top Star Bowling, don't run up and challenge him and put the mortgage on the house on the game. Because you'll be living in a furnished room. '84 through the 5th with a spare up.
Furnished room, you mean a cubby hole like we are here?
It was very comfortable here. Never did get to the head pin, and the 1-2-4 remains. And I think the youngster has about had it. I think it's embarrassing more than anything else, Whitey. Huh?
I think that's it, Jack. And we all, I don't know, we're not alibiing for him, but I always like to say other sports, same thing happens. This is he's an athlete, he's a professional. He's got to be able to take it.
He comes back with his spare. And the 7th frame.
Pretty sure we know, Jack, that as soon as he gets through here, he'll pack up his bag and he'll be just as anxious to shoot in the next professional bowlers tournament or try to win some prize somewhere else.
Steve Nagy working on a spare. Gives a little life to Mr. Orf. And now Ray is saying, why couldn't I do something with that strike I had working before? The 7-9. This is not an impossible split.
No, this is where Steve will have to hit it back against the back pit and bring it in. That's the only way you can pick it, Jack.
You can't slide it over?
Well, it's such a difficult shot because that 7 sits directly in line with the back part of the pit there. They do drop, but it's so rare.
So there's Nagy's first open. And here he is in the 8th frame. And he strikes. Ray Orf is working on a spare. And ball dived in on him again. And another split. 4-6-7. At the end of the second game, he said to me, don't say anything to me. Don't ask me any questions. They'll probably feel the same way as only if they stay around to collect the $500. As we've explained before, the first time a fellow is on a show, he's bowling actually for $1,500. For if he wins, he gets $1,000. And then the least he can win on his next appearance is $500. So a lot of money is involved. Steve Nagy's about to haul down his second $1,000 prize. There's the strike in the 9th frame for Ray Orf. So he's had 2 strikes in each game so far. I tell you, if nothing else, this should give encouragement to the neophyte bowler. He says if these fellas can do it, why, there's hope for me. Nagy's not letting up. He doubles in the 9th and goes into the roll-off. They've done a great job here at this particular lane in Marlboro Lane. They're busy here. Great relationship between fans and customers and the proprietors. No 3-bagger for Steve Nagy. The winner of this one will take on Ray Bluth next week in Top Star Bowling. Coming along after Ray Bluth, Wayne Zahn. A good many fine names to come in the future, including the ladies. Nagy will spare in the 10th. 195 if he comes back with a 10 count now. And a 530 something. Last week, Steve had to bowl 640 to defeat Bob Chase, who had 620. So he gets an 8 count, 193 and 532. going to finish with a little blaze of glory here anyhow. There's the double for him. 187 if he goes all the way. And he will lose this game just as he lost the first two to Mr. Nagy. A little late, huh? One more for 187. Ray will not reach the 500 mark. He's 22 years old. I'll say, how long has it been since you bowled such a low score? He said, oh, when I was a kid. And he finishes with 9 and 186 and 497. So the winner of our match is Steve Nagy of Cleveland, the 532 series. Ray Orf, who had 497. Well, Top Star Bowling is over for this week. Our winner is Steve Nagy. Steve, I've forgotten the totals. Do you happen to remember them?
No, I don't.
You remember them, right?
No, I don't remember either.
So we'll just let it go for the moment. We have a couple of minutes before we award the prizes. And, Ray, I know you feel badly about it because you wait once a year to come along here on Top Star Bowling, and it's not really the money that's involved, but it's the reputation, the embarrassment and all. But for the benefit of the bowlers like myself and the people in the audience, people looking in, you were just below the 500 mark. What do you do when things are going this badly, Ray? What do you try to do when you're up there in the line?
Well, Jack, you try to move around and change your line and try to find a way into the pocket. And in my case today, it seemed like every move I made was wrong.
And you paid for every mistake you made, too,
Yes,
didn't you?
I did. I just bowled very poorly. That's all I can say.
Whitey was talking during the match that you had changed speed on the ball there a couple of times?
I tried changing speed. I tried moving my feet, and everything just seemed to be wrong today. That's all.
One of those days.
One of those days, that's right.
Steve Nagy, you were no ball of fire either.
He was, Ray was hunting without a license.
Hunting without a license.
And I think this is the territory that Jesse James come out of.
That's right. He's from around here.
And I just stole $1,000 without a gun.
Well, we all know how good a bowler he is, and so we'll let him get out of here, and we'll wrap things up by bringing on a pretty young lady who's a graduate of the John Robert Powers Modeling School, representing the Pat Allen Agency from St. Louis, and her name is Pat Walker. Pat, do you have the money?
Yes, I do, and thank you very much. So, Ray, here's your check for $500.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's a very wonderful consolation prize, I think.
Yes.
She's about your age, isn't she, Ray?
Yes, I think so.
She's not your age, Steve Nagy.
And, Steve, here's your check for $1,000.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you very much, Pat Walker.
Thank you.
Ray, a pleasure.
Thank you, Jack.
We'll see you along the line. The next time on Top Star Bowling, you'll probably be here for 3 months.
Well, I hope so.
I'll remember you for a long time.
Ray Orf and Steve Nagy, they're both fine gentlemen. I'm sure you'll agree. Okay, going to be with us next week. We'll be back here at the Marlboro Lanes, and Ray Bluth will be the adversary for Steve Nagy, and that should be a good one. So tune in, will you please? And it's been a pleasure to have been here at Marlboro Lanes in the village of Marlboro, just outside the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the west. I'm speaking for Whitey Harris as I say thanks for your time this time. Till next time, so long. Bowling equipment by Brunswick, the #1 name in bowling. Top Star Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress.